Michigan officials are still trying to find out why 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley went on a violent rampage, killing 4 and injuring 7 at Oxford High School Tuesday. Crumbly, charged as an adult, is facing several charges of terrorism, murder, assault, and possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The school administrators met with Crumbly's parents about what his teachers described as disturbing behavior Monday and Tuesday, just hours before the shooting. Evidence from Ethan's journal, cell phone, and social media posts have investigators believing the shooting was a premeditated plan. Video taken the night before the attack shows Crumbly talking about shooting and killing his peers at school. He also boasted about the new gun his dad purchased, which he used during the shooting. There are also reports of an alleged countdown to the shooting and references to the devil on his now deleted media account. The question lies, could this tragedy have been prevented? Reese, I'm gonna let you answer that question, but I'm gonna say what I think I have said on this show at least 11,000 times. Until the US government acknowledges that there is a real problem with white males between the ages of now 14, 15, and 33, it's not going to stop.
Right. And, you know, I said this earlier today on Clay Kane Show. I'll say it again. Believe white men. When they tell you that they're going to shoot up a school, when they tell you that they devil worshiping or whatever demonic stuff that he was into, believe them. You know, it's crazy because if a troubled Black child is meeting with, you know, getting called into the principal's office, that child is getting suspended, then they're getting expelled. Okay, there's consequences for them. We've seen 10-year-old and adolescent Black girls being tossed around like rag dolls by school resource officers and police officers, and yet this killer has been treated with kid gloves. I mean, even the New York Post released a picture of him that was not his mugshot. It was a picture of him as like an 8-year-old choir boy or something. And so we need to stop treating white male rage with kid gloves. We need to stop calling it economic anxiety. We need to stop calling it, you know, these different euphemisms where we talk about their under, you know, we play into their culture wars by having the conversations on their terms on things like critical race theory, et cetera, et cetera. And we need to start taking seriously the threat. I mean, I forget how you say her last name, Janet something or another. She talked about this back, you know, before Bush was even in office, when Clinton was still there, about, you know, the threat that, you know, white domestic extremism is posing. So I'm not saying this was racially motivated or anything, but we have to start taking these troubled white boys, men, whatever you want to call it, seriously. All that energy that people put into over policing and oppressing and you know, putting Black kids and brown kids in this prison to a school to prison pipeline. I'm not saying you do the same thing with white kids, but I'm saying don't let them off so easily because they're the ones out there shooting up these schools.
Right, absolutely, agreed. And the thing is, Faraji, they don't just drop in out of the sky at 14, 15, mad as hell. They are being raised, something closer that looks like raised. They were once babies and then toddlers before they work their way into all of this rage, and they are being affected by outside influences, not just, I'm not totally, I think parents probably do have a responsibility in this case, but it's not just that. We're seeing how they are being indoctrinated and conditioned through the dark web and through all of these outside sources. What is it that needs to be done to run down these rabbit holes and stop it?
I mean, I think there are a few things at play here, Monique. One is just the point that you were making. You know, when you see a child 15 years old who decides to go up into school and he's going to start shooting and killing people, the first thing I would look at as an investigator is looking at the parents. What's going on inside the home? right? Because the home serves as the base of a child's understanding about the world and themselves. So that's the first thing. So I think that conversation about parents and responsibility, no parent, we can say, oh no, we would never raise our children to be killers. But even in the Black community, we expose our children to too much grown up stuff in terms of violence, in terms of not being able to properly resolve conflict, in terms of teaching Black boys and Black girls that you can't express yourself, don't cry, and all of this garbage that we send, right? And I'm saying, and I'm using that as an example because he could have been exposed to the same thing. Now, does that mean that he should get a slap on the wrist? Hell no, he shouldn't. Because at 15 years old, a baby knows the difference between right and wrong. So by the time you get to 15, you know what you're about to do is either right or wrong. Going up into a school and shooting people, that unless you are a sociopath, then your brain should register and say, you know what, this may not be a great idea. So when we have that conversation, but I also want to have the discussion about the fact that this is not just about guns. Please, let's not make this about guns, because we know white media often says, uses that excuse. Well, access to guns, the gun policies, gun laws needs to be stricter.
Don't they?
That's not the
Don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but at the same time,
I mean, are they wrong? I'm just checking. Just checking.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong, but this kid didn't get the gun off the street. He got it from his parents, who for some reason did not teach him certain things. Now, again, we don't know if this child is a sociopath or psychopath. What we can only speculate. But the point is that let's not let's not get away from the simple fact that he made a choice. This child, just like Rittenhouse, just like all of the other white males that go into, that's a mind thing. And Dr. Carr, I'm sure you can attest to the fact that we see this all the time. And what we're seeing right now is that we're seeing white men and boys who are feeling threatened, who feel like they're losing power, are losing their minds right now. You can take it from President Trump all the way down to this joker. They'll feel like they're losing their minds right now. And so how do they handle that? They only handle that by, I'm gonna shoot and kill somebody. And that's the part of the conversation that we don't want to really have, because we don't really believe that an individual can think like that. But guess what? It happens every day in the Black community too. When you got Black people who say, man, I'm just going to do me. And next thing you know, we shooting and killing each other. That's a mindset. Something is inherently wrong when the human being is at a place or at a thinking where they feel like the only way they can resolve a problem, the only way they can relieve certain type of feelings within them is that they play God and take somebody out like that.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree with you. The only pin, if I had to put a pin in it, to make a point that the separation for us, where we got crazy and depraved and psychopathic and homicidal people here, the same way they are everywhere else in the world. The difference is that we are weaponized differently to be able to do something about it. So I don't think that we can ignore the gun conversation while we're having the conversation about the state of our mental health. Dr. Greg, but I got to keep moving. I got a question for Dr. Greg, because he's there's
a culture of violence in this country that we haven't fully embraced.
I hear you.
America loves violance.
I hear you.
That's why.
But I'm still going to Dr. Greg. I hear you, and I'm going to Dr. Greg.
Go ahead.
Okay. Because I need my senior scholar, because I'm just asking you this question, frankly, Greg, because I want to know your answer. I just want to know what you think about it. And I got my little introductory quick 3 sentences about it before I ask you the question. You have to be 18 to be able to vote, right? And you got to be 21 to be able to drink. Yep. You got to be 18, sometimes 21, and to be able to serve police officer, military, etc. You have to be 18 and over to be able to drive on your own. And the reason why they make these limits, these minimums on age, is because the brain in the adolescent is not fully developed for them to be able to make the mature decisions that are necessary to handle those types of responsibilities. So, my question then is, do you agree or disagree with teens that are 14 and 15 being charged and tried as adults, such as in this case?
No, I disagree, of course, for the reasons you said. And I think it's a
I love
seamless.
you, Dr. Greg. Yes.
What?
Okay.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
you laid it
No,
out.
it's brave. It's brave and it's bold, because sometimes we fight for the black boys and we don't want them to be tried. And then the white boys come and do this stuff and we're like, throw them under the jail, give them the electric chair. And I'm like, come on, people. What's the policy and what do we believe in? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm excited.
No, please don't apologize, because I think this is the challenge we have. Again, there is no such thing as an abstract human being. And so that's why I think the conversation we're having, Reese and Faraji and me and you, it's all part of a seamless whole. And I agree, Faraji, what you said. There's a culture of violence. So this isn't happening worldwide. The United States is a gunfighter nation. In other words, the things we worship are violent. Whether it be football, whether it be every movie, every television show, damn near everybody interviewed on Roland Martin Unfiltered with a new TV show on here. If you take 50 Cent out of the rotation, it stars all the violence. I mean, in other words, we worship it. We worship the gun. Now, so at the same time, but race plays a role. Remember, I'm sure we both remember this, sitting in our constitutional law class, and we had to read Milliken versus Bradley. That was a 1974 case where they said the Detroit public schools are segregated, so we're going to loop in 85 surrounding school districts and allow busing into those districts. And Supreme Court struck down the Sixth Circuit and said, you can't do that. Well, Oakland, Michigan is about halfway between Detroit, 40 miles out of Detroit, and just about 40 miles south of a little place called, what's the name of that place? Oh, I can't think of the name of the county right now, but it's the county where, remember this guy, Terry Nichols? Lapeer, Michigan. Terry Nichols was with the Oklahoma bomber, Tim McVeigh. People talk about Timothy McVeigh, but Nichols was from a place in Michigan about 40 miles north of the place where this white boy shot up. Now, what does that have to do with what we're talking about right now? Violence. We're immersed in this violent culture in the United States. When it's around black people, they put metal detectors in the schools. I worked in the Philadelphia Public Schools one time. There's this Chinese young lady, a sophomore in high school. We had a Philadelphia Freedom Schools meeting, 300 some students, Chinese students, Latinx students, black students, white students. And this child got up, she went to girls' high, and she said, until they put metal detectors in girls' high school, one of the top public high schools in Philadelphia, you should take them out of all of the other high schools where my peers go to school, because you've racialized this violence as if we somehow won't be violent because we're different race or different class. Now, when you put that together, I agree with you, Faraji. You've got people in rural places like Lanier, Michigan, where the guy Nichols is from, Roy's on a farm, think something's being taken away. You've got in Detroit kids who are being, assaulting each other, fighting each other, but they're not bringing it to the schools in the same way. And then you got this white boy who feels like probably something's being taken away from him, but he's in an environment where they allow you to take a gun to school, not because they knew about it, but because they put nothing in place to prevent it. So if we're not going to charge him with the death penalty, we shouldn't charge anybody as an adult. We shouldn't charge anybody else as an adult, but we have to address the fact that in this country, which isn't a nation, people have retreated to their corners based in race-stoked fear that has been further weaponized by allowing white children to get away literally with murder, while black children are treated as suspects when they've done nothing except be walking around. The rules aren't the same. So I think that's the ambiguity where we can say no 14-year-old should be charged as an adult, but when you put race, culture, and reality in it, it isn't this abstract 14-year-old. It almost has to be applied differently depending on circumstances.
Right. Well, and they have charged him as an adult in this case. But, like I said, sometimes I hear an outcry behind that and sometimes I don't. And I think
all right, folks, back to our Roll Back Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?